Hello my friends, in this video I want to talk about the twins. To be honest, I have never found the twins sexually appealing, so I was never a fan of this killer. But the twins is a very interesting killer because it's basically 2 in 1. A perfect comparison to the twins would be Mia Khalifa because, you know, 2 in 1. Do you get the joke? Okay. Let's talk about the twins. But before that, if you want me to come on your mom's titties, then don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much. Also, make sure to join my Discord server because over there we talk a lot about vaginal penetration and sometimes we all masturbate together. So if you are interested, the link is in the description. So apparently developers decided to give this killer a major rework for 2 reasons. Just like developers themselves have said, previously the twins' power heavily encouraged slugging. So basically they think that this major rework will heavily attribute to slugging not being that big of a problem when it comes to the twins. And the second reason why they are reworking the twins is something developers would never tell us because they are pussies. But the reason why they are doing this major rework is that, let's be fair, when was the last time you got to play against the twins? I mean, nobody plays this killer anymore. I love the fact that Dead by Daylight has so many different killers. It makes it fun for both sides because there's a variety of different characters with different powers. It makes it fun for survivors not to know which killer they're gonna go next against. But the problem is that some of these killers are more fun than other killers. And of course, if you find the twins fun to play, it's great, man, but when you look at the statistics, you will see that they aren't really being played by that many players, and Dead by Daylight has a lot of players. I think another very unpopular killer is Sadako, because Sadako on release was extremely weak, and it wasn't really fun to play as Sadako. You really felt like you are in a big disadvantage when you compared Sadako to most killers in Dead by Daylight. So this killer went through 3 huge reworks and it got very complicated. I don't even know how Sadako works anymore, and I feel like most people, when they get to play against Sadako, they don't know how to counter this killer, and when they play as Sadako, they don't really know how to take advantage of this killer and they end up losing most of their games and then they switch to another killer. There are other very unpopular killers like the Singularity. The Singularity is arguably even more unpopular than the twins, but the twins is one of those killers that are in the top 5 most unpopular killers in Dead by Daylight, in my opinion. And I would say that the reason for why the twins aren't really that popular is that it had a very boring and awkward game loop. What I mean is that you had to switch between Charlotte and Victor, and the cooldown periods would be long. You press a button, it would take a couple milliseconds to switch from one character to another character. You would get the most advantage out of this killer when you slug. So, you know, slugging was the most optimal tactic for this killer, and slugging isn't a thing that you typically want to do in Dead by Daylight when you play killer. Not to mention that you couldn't leave Charlotte standing next to the hook if the survivor was hooked, so it made it extremely awkward to play as the twins. So the twins had a lot of problems, and that made this killer kind of boring and unfun to play, at least for me personally. So I have never really enjoyed playing as this killer, even though, like I mentioned before, this killer is very unique in a way that this killer is basically 2 in 1, and Victor is one of the smallest characters in the game. It was the shortest killer in the game until Checky, and it is still the shortest killer that is playable in a first-person perspective. It feels amazing to run around the map as Victor, but obviously it feels terrible to get crushed by survivors. And here we come to a rework, and this rework basically tries to fix the slugging problem. And today, when I tried this reworked version of the twins for the first time ever, I thought to myself, what the fuck, did the twins really get nerfed? It felt terrible to play this killer and I lost the match, but soon I realized that every single DBD content creator that I follow is posting videos about how strong the new version of the twins is. and then I realized that I have no idea how to play this killer. So after playing a couple more games, I realized that yes, this version of the twins is actually very strong. Does it fix slugging? Well, kind of. You see, when you hit a survivor with Victor, you injure that survivor. When you hit the injured survivor with Victor, Victor latches onto that survivor and Victor becomes inaccessible to you for quite a duration of time. So you cannot use Victor anymore, you need to use Charlotte if you want to go after other survivors, which basically means that if you want to keep on slugging, then you will have to change your character, and slugging will make the gameplay for you feel a little bit more awkward. So I would recommend you, as soon as you down the survivor with Victor, just hook that survivor and then go after other survivors. But the reason why everybody is saying that the new version of the twins is so strong and in some instances overpowered is that you can use Victor to go after every single survivor individually and make sure that every single survivor is injured. Don't down them, but make sure that they are all injured. And then when they are all injured, you go with Victor and latch onto one of these survivors, downing them. Keep in mind that when every single survivor is injured, that's when they are very, very vulnerable and they will be scared to repair generators. They will prioritize healing themselves or healing their teammates, you know what I mean? So this new version of twins, if played correctly, is gonna be just as annoying to face as it is annoying to face killers like Legion or the Trickster in a way. You know what? Thinking now, it is very possible to slug and win your games with this version of the twins. If you injure every single survivor with Victor, then you down the first survivor that you get to down with Victor, you switch to Charlotte, and then you slug all of the other survivors. You slowly down all of them, and then you hook all 4 of them, and that's the game over for you. But I feel like this is a very boring gameplay style. I do not recommend you do this, but yeah, it might work, so that might be a problem. Anyway, I will not be talking about the rework to the add-ons for the twins because I am very shit when it comes to add-on knowledge. However, I can tell you what I don't like about this version of twins, and it's the fact that whenever you switch from Charlotte back to Victor, yes, it takes less time than before to switch from one character to the other character, but you will become slow for a couple seconds, very, very slow with Victor, and you cannot do shit. For example, you see a survivor in front of you, you cannot really jump on that survivor for a couple of seconds, so it's extremely annoying. Another frustration that I have is that whenever you down a survivor with Victor, you automatically switch back to Charlotte and killer instinct is not there. You don't know where exactly is the downed survivor, and it's very frustrating. Yes, you can see Victor's aura for like 2 seconds or something like that, but sometimes it is very unclear where the Victor actually is, and you don't know where the downed survivor is, and it actually promotes slugging in my opinion. I think developers should make it so whenever you down a survivor with Victor and you switch back to Charlotte, that's when the killer instinct reveals where the Victor and the downed survivor actually is, so you can immediately get there and stop the slugging, you know? And the last thing that I want to mention is that I noticed that bhvr is a very, very strong perk for the twins. I don't think that this perk should get nerfed in any way, shape or form, but I'm just mentioning it, so if you play PTB or something like that, you might want to consider trying this perk. What it will do is that when you use Victor, you want to injure every single survivor on the map, and if there's a pallet nearby that survivor, that pallet will be blocked for a couple of seconds, and I noticed that it's pretty handful and pretty useful, so you might want to take this tip from me. Anyway, comment your opinions on this rework. I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope you found it informative, and I'll see you in my next Dead by Daylight video. Ciao!